There we go. Who have we got? We've got a few on tonight. Make sure that you put your names in the comments. We need to get postcodes. So we'll talk about the postcode prizes. Once again, we're still giving away Al McMara's old shirt. So your choice this week for the postcode prize. You've got what have we got? We've got a 2014 Penn tournament shirt or a Shimano Garmin shirt. This is a pretty nice shirt, collarless, long sleeve, obviously. Or this is a bit of a classic, a 2013 Bass Grand Final Can You Damn shirt. So you get to choose one of those. That's all just by putting your postcode in. Well, guys, look, as I said last week, it was going to be a busy weekend. It was a very, very busy weekend and lots of fun. And we will recap that in a minute, go over all the results from Kenya Clarance. I've got Kenya on my head because that's the next ABT. But the Clarence River round, there was some massive, massive fish caught. And as Morgo said on the weekend, stick it up your ass to anyone that whinges about having a comp after the flood. It obviously washed those big fish down. And there was just some massive fish caught. So I apologise in advance if I start to waffle on a little bit today. 14 hours in the car to get home and get onto the show. I'm not overly organised in that sense. So there's been a bit of a rush. The next sort of 3 weekends are tied up with tournament fishing. So I'm trying to give you as much as I can. The guest I had organised for tonight unfortunately has family problems, so couldn't come on. So I am shooting solo, and we'll see how we go. See if I can talk for enough. But listen, I'd like to just start off the show. It was really good getting up to the Clarence, getting onto a river round and having an absolute ball and seeing all of that massive waterway and having that fun we had up there. And I've seen photos. Somebody caught a Dewey on a ZX blade. There was another guy caught mangrove jack, flathead, and bass in the same area. So what a wonderful system it is. If you haven't been there, make sure you get there and look at all the photos and that are coming up on the ABT website. So Clarence River was good. But what was even better is the amount of viewers I have from that area. You guys up there support my show heaps, and it was really cool to go around and see all of you guys face to face. And, I just can't appreciate enough when people come up to me in the public arena and say, "G'day, Cap, how you going?" Makes my day, makes my week. But I did get to meet my number one supporter that I've been told is my number one supporter. And I've got to bring a photo up here of my number one supporter. There she is, little Mia. She gave me plenty of high fives and plenty of encouragement over the weekend. Lloyd and Tracy, what a beautiful baby you have. My number one supporter for the weekend. And really have to say thanks very much. That's the first time since Mia was born that I got to meet her, and what a bundle of beautiful little joy she is. So, really cool weekend. But all my supporters up there, thank you for watching the show, and thanks Mia as well. Made my day coming in off the water. I know it made Lloydie's day, but made my day getting a high five. Was really cool. Make sure you get your comments in as well. I see there's plenty of postcodes coming through. Harry will be on later on doing the wheel. We'll talk about some prizes for the wheel as well. But I do have to. We don't sort of shirk from any issues, and we did have a couple on the weekend. Elon, I will get to one of your questions for sure. I promise you. On the weekend, there was a little bit of behind-the-scenes controversy, which I want to touch on tonight and get a bit of a healthy debate going, because I'm on one side of the argument and people are on the other side. It's not really an argument; it's a discussion. So I want to bring that up. I'll go through some questions in a minute, but I do want to thank my co-boaters for the weekend. I had an absolute blast. I couldn't catch them that kick of fish, but I had Mick Horn, and both the first time I've met both of them, Mick Horn and Simon Wilson. So Mick Horn, if anyone doesn't know him, he's the mangrove jack guru up on the Gold Coast, and I can tell you he's the best co-boater I've had on the boat in the way of casting ability. We just punch those casts in, and I've never seen anyone cast as good as him off the back of the deck. So thanks, Mick, for a great Saturday. And then I had local legend Simon Wilson on Sunday. And, he took me to a couple of his spots. But unfortunately, he got busted off on those spots and we didn't land those fish. So it was good. I learned heaps, and it is an awesome waterway. Let's go to a couple of quick questions before I go into results. So let me have a look and see what's come up. Very big bags. Yeah, Elon, look, straight up, I'll get your question up. Mate, the Clarence River could have been a bit of a disaster after the floods, but it definitely wasn't. I honestly believe those floods have brought some of the bass down from upstream, and they're going to come down and spawn. They'll be there for a few months and try and head back up. But to get those huge bags, which we'll talk about, I've got the ABT's website up, I'll share in a minute, 2 kilo plus fish. They were just massive. I've never seen that in a river system before. Obviously, the locals have kept that reasonably quiet. So, yes, that's plenty of bass caught. And they were caught way down into the salt water as well. There wasn't as many EPs caught as I thought there was going to be. So, yeah, that's the way it goes. Thanks for the heads up, Brady. Yeah, listen, Shane, here we go. I'd like to drop in and say thanks for the coffee. It was awesome to be able to make my cappuccinos while I was away. So with that, and had a couple on the way home, nice strong coffee. So awesome stuff. Shane, let's go through. Well, we've got people from all over the place. Cameron, yeah, your information, mate, was invaluable on the weekend. I did pop into Mode Tackle. You cannot go through that area and not drop into Mode Tackle. If you've seen it, I think it's still the biggest tackle warehouse in Australia, and I could honestly spend, the full day in there and not get. I went in to get some leader, walked out with $100 worth of gear, and Cameron gave me some heads up on the waterway, and I do have to thank him about that. He didn't have to; he was also co-boating, but gave me some heads up. So thanks, Cameron, for that. Hey everyone, we've got people in Toowoomba. Timmy Oakley, yes, after the weekend that I hid every time the port bottle come out. Timmy did. I did camp with Timmy. He organised the accommodation. What a sterling job he did for us. We had a place out of town, and the port was flowing, but it wasn't for me. I'm just on the coffee, mate. So that's how that goes. G'day, James. Harvey, let's go with that one. Listen, Harvey, we're going to cover Murray Cod next week. Obviously, I'm at the Mulwala Native Classic on the weekend. Going to go up there. Tips for Murray Cod in the colder months. I hope to have Matthew Langford on next week, and I want you to re-ask that question for next week, but I will get onto that for you. Definitely. If you are somewhere where you're fishing at the moment and struggling, send me a PM and I'll try and help you out with as much information as I can. Neil, what are the orange things next to the stubby cooler? These things here are actually Easter eggs, and they've been sort of disappearing and coming out in between shots. So I was just seeing if somebody picked that up. So you were the first tonight. Well done. G'day, Robbie. How you going? Oh, here we go. Here's Steve Galvin, the tournament director for next week. He's on watching. What do you think the winning length will be for the Native Classic? Boothie suggested 7 meters plus. Shit. Look, it's what is it? 5 cod and 5 biggest yellows. So it's not like most other cod comps at Mulwala, where it's actually a length comp and not a numbers comp. So, listen, I don't think it'll be that high. I'm thinking maybe 5.5, 6 meters. I think we're going to have perfect weather and perfect condition, but the fishing's going to be tough, just the way we all love it. So that's what I'm going to give for you, Galvo. James Roy, do I know any good outboard mechanics around Shepparton? James, look, my outboard mechanics up here in Wodonga, but it depends on what brand of outboard you want. So send us a message. I'll see if I can get out and go from there. Elon, another great question. What was your lure choice for the round? I've actually preloaded that in here, so I'm going to bring that up for you, mate, and show you what I was throwing. So if I can bring this up. So if you look in the mouth of that bass, pre-fish day, we were throwing cranks, and I continued to throw them all weekend. So that one there is the little Wilson Bulldog crank. I threw that for most of the weekend and caught lots of fish pre-fish day and the first day, but they seemed to tickle onto it for Sunday and changed over to Bassman spinnerbaits and a couple of Jackal TN60. So they caught me fish on the Sunday, but that was my lure of choice. So great question there, mate. I'll just get rid of that. So we've got plenty of questions coming through. Bo, what was your highlight of the river round and coming back up? Oh, look, I just love going to the rivers. It's something different. I've always fished the ponds. I'm a pond fisherman, and just meeting everyone. I think seeing 2 kilo fish was good. What was my individual highlight? Well, I've said earlier was probably meeting the number one supporter, but I think Nick's got it there. The Bombers getting up over the weekend would have been my highlights. So that's it there. How good were those Bombers? A few Bombers coming. Nick, what was the biggest thing I learned about the Clarance? That it is freaking big. I'm glad I was only running the 115 4-stroke and not one of the big motors because it would have been a very expensive experience. But the thing I learned was to study those tides, learn those tides better. I struggled with the tides. I thought I had it sussed on pre-fish day, but on the Saturday morning it worked for me. On the Sunday I got the tides completely wrong. So I think getting my head around the tides would be the biggest thing that I need to get sort of better before the grand final. But that is definitely the biggest thing I learned was getting those tides right. And if your spots aren't working, how far do you run to get some running water? I think that was the key to the weekend for me. Kevin, great question. Who finished higher, me or the apprentice? Well, the ambassador finished higher. He beat me by, I think it was 10 grams in the end. So Bill had the hometown advantage. So I've doubled down for Kenya. But Bill did really well in that one. So it was good to see him out there, the ambassador. And don't forget, we will be running a junior and females ambassadors program this year as well. So get on later in the year. We'll have a prize boat for the juniors like Bill's got, and we'll have a prize boat for the ladies at the end of the year. So that'll be really cool. Lots of questions coming through. Warren Jones, what do you prefer, bass or cod? Well, that's a good one. Tournament fishing wise, I'd have to say bass because you catch more numbers. But as a social side of things, I would definitely prefer to catch cod. I think they're a harder species to target, and a lot of harder work goes into, especially when you're just chasing big ones. So Warren, I know that hasn't really said one or the other, but for tournament fishing, I would prefer bass. And for social fishing, I would definitely be chasing cod. So great question, Warren. Don't forget, all of these questions are going into a draw later on. Harry will spin the wheel, so keep those questions in. Fish on, did you have any luck with the bone focus? That good to see people are following my post out there. The bone focus was actually for this weekend coming. It's my lure of choice for the Native Classic. Obviously nobody else that's fishing the comp this weekend will know that I'm throwing a bone focus. It wasn't for the river round. Definitely the Bulldog Crags were. So I was just a week in advance with that one, trying to hide that post to go through to the wicket keeper. Bo, that's awesome that you say that. Being a local and a bit of a guru up there, the tides really played with my head, and I couldn't work them out. So that's Look, we're two comps in advance. How do you think the Kenya round will go? Well, it's going to be tough. It's only at 29%. It depends on the size of the field, so that's a tough one to answer. And Bo, I'm glad you've asked this question. Did your co-boaters teach you anything on the weekend, and what was it? My co-boaters taught me a lot on the weekend. I really, Mick was amazing. He's just such a knowledgeable guy and fisherman, been in the fishing industry for a long time. But he showed me some little techniques that I won't give out tonight because they were his own techniques. But he did teach me a lot. Young Simon on the Sunday that I had taught me that I'm a bit gun shy when it goes to where I should be putting my lure. We were where he was getting busted off on. I wouldn't have thought anyone would have got a fish out of there at the best of times, but he kept getting the bites in there. He kept throwing that lure into areas where, I wouldn't even thought of throwing. The trees were that thick that he was actually dropping his lure into the middle of that thick stuff and trying to pull him out. A couple of times we've seen him. He got him over the first branch, but they got him on the second one. So Simon taught me that I'm not throwing the lure probably in the right place. So that's a great question, which leads me on to the debate that I'm going to have later on. I'll keep going through the questions as we go. The debate it's been brought to my attention a couple of times over the last few months from boaters and from co-boaters. There seems to be a very, very big gap between the boaters and the co-boaters, which is starting to freak me out a little bit because I've seen this happen before where a couple of years ago we struggled to get co-boaters because the boaters treated them as a back boater. There was no shared weight, so there was no sharing of information and stuff like that. It made it very hard for the coes. So the coe numbers started to dwindle, and over the last few comps, I've noticed the coe numbers dwindle. And it's been brought to my attention that it's not so much the shared weight anymore, but it's the lack of, I suppose, thanks that they might be getting up on the stage when they're inputting into the bag when the boater goes up and weighs up their fish. So there's two sides to this story. This is only what I'm bringing up. So it's a nonnies versus pros debate on which is better and what we should be doing both ways. So if you've got some really constructive input into this debate as we go on tonight, I'd be really interested to see some comments and talk about them. But I'll wait for some questions to come in before I tap on that even more. I do have to thank ABT. What a stellar event. It was, big field, 44 odd boats. And what was the numbers? I think it was 29 full bags for just after a flood. And a lot of those bags were three that didn't make it with threes. So one fish over the weekend missed from full bags. I think it was 5 grams between the winners, and I have to congratulate Chris Banks on winning the comp on the weekend. And Brian Everingham finally got a return on a couple of years ago where he won the boat in the grand final by a small amount and actually got pipped in this one by about 5 or 6 grams, I think it was in the end, for second place. But most of those guys, I suppose the top 10 were well out in advance. And then you go from 11th to about 30th. It was one kick of fish in between you finishing 30th and somewhere up near the top 10. So that shows you how close the fishing was in that middle of the field. So very impressive, though, from Chris Banks and Brian Everingham. And a big bass for the weekend. Michael Goodwin got it. It was 2.03. So a 2 kegger out of the river. And I know there was a lot of 1.9s caught as well. So, I think my bag on the first day was only 2.7. So guys are catching fish nearly the size of my bag in one fish. That was really cool. So, another really thing. As I said, ABT run an awesome event, and a bit of respect goes out to them for the weekend. I was the Anzac Day tribute that we did on the Sunday morning, it really made me feel good. I really enjoyed the last post and to get out there in dead quiet with 44 boats, all spot locked, standing at attention. Everyone was heads down, and it was just remarkable to be a part of. I know Morgo has put a clip up on the ABT website. I shared it. If you haven't seen it, go and have a look at it. It was one of those eerie feelings. It was like being at the MCG on Anzac Day for Essendon Collingwood. When it finished, I nearly screamed. I went, "Yeah, let's go, boys!" But respect. The service was very, very respectful. Timmy Morgan did a good job, and of course, Morgo organised it all from behind the scenes. So let's go through. Shane, what's your biggest? Well, Shane, to be honest, I'm not one of those guys that talks. I like to talk about numbers more than length. 1.2 around that is my cod. I think it was a little bit bigger than that, and 63 sort of centimetre Somerset bass. But I'm not so much about once it gets over that 50 centimetre mark, it's a trophy fish, and once it's over a metre, people go for a lifetime. So, I try and stick to just saying it's over a metre or over 50. Warren's got another one here. Bass fishing only fish dams and major difference in working them out in the river system. Warren, the big thing of working it out in the river system, I suppose, once again, is the tide. If you're on slack water, you got to work really hard for them. But if you're on a river system, it's casting. You've got to get that casting really, really well. I know I talked to Langers on the weekend, and, he does a lot of pond fishing, a lot of dam fishing. He charters, and he even said on Sunday that his shoulder was sore because he's not so used to, using a bait caster all the time. So get your head around a bait caster and learn how to cast. If you're not casting it in the right spot, you're not catching the fish. So it's very, very hard. I found it very hard to throw a spin stick when you're looking for accuracy. So that would be that one for you, Warren. Johnny, how you going, mate? Look, we've got, are you a fan of the shared weight, and do you think the Open's sharing weight from between pros and coaches? Yes. Look, I'll be honest. I'm one of the few probably pros that is proactively for shared weight. I think it does help the sport, and everyone that knows me, it's all about the sport. It's not about these individual accolades for me. It's about, growing the sport and getting more people to learn how to fish and having more people there. And once we do that, then the prize money and stuff like that will grow. So I am a definite fan of the shared weight, but I'm on the other end of the thing of the sharing of the info between the pro and the co. There's sort of two sides to that story. It's been in for a couple of years now, maybe 3 years, and I can honestly tell you that only 2 times on the briefing on the Friday night has my co actually asked what I'm going to be doing on the weekend. I haven't received messages or anything like that. They might think I'm a bit of a dud fisherman, I'm not a Matty Langford or whatnot, so they're going to throw whatever they want. But in the sense of shared info, I'm one of the most sharing of guys with info. I get in here every Monday night and tell you everything that I've done. I don't hold anything back, but I think the co's can be more proactive that I've drawn in what are you going to throw on. Both of my co's on the weekend did ask me, but in previous comps, I've met the co on the Friday night, and then on the Sunday morning, I've put the boat in by myself and pulled it up and had to go and find my co. So there's two sides to the argument. And as I said, I'll be moderator of those questions as they come through. But I think it's a good thing for the sport, definitely, Johnny. I think there's also an avenue for individual weight. For, say, the Oz Opens and stuff like that. Maybe even grand finals where they could separate it and you could do your own thing. But definitely shared weight is much better. And even in the river system, it's more important. Mick and I on the Saturday, he's just a magic caster, and he could put the the lure he wanted from the back of the boat. But when we were running parallel with the bank, it was inviting him up so we could both work up the bank. But it's a great one, Johnny. So hey, we're getting plenty of questions tonight. That's good. So Chris has got tide's got us over the gravel beds at Copenhagen. But it was rare. So there was people who did very, very long runs as well. So I got up pre-fish day. I went over up. I went past, I think they call it Dead Man's Rapids, and I went up over the next rapids as well in my little boat. I got in some real sneaky stuff, but it didn't sort of pay much to that. And I come back down into sort of the middle. I found a clear patch of water. So that's what I wanted to fish. But, there was a few props broken on the weekend, but I think they were boaters' faults more than anything else. Yeah, Gladstone is a long way, mate. No iron team. Harvey, first species of fish I caught would have been a redfin. We had a dam on our little hobby farm when I was growing up as a young tacker, and we used to go down there with a float and an old rod and, dig up some worms in the chook pen, and we go down there and catch reddies and throw them back. So I've always been part of the throwback theory. I used to, idolise Rex Hunt and kiss them and throwing them back. But redfin would have been my first species, definitely, Harvey. Rightio, here's one. Dylan. So I asked both my boaters if they wanted to weigh in their bags because they are 50% of the team. I always make sure they have a good day, even if they weigh. Yeah, so there you go. So Dylan, congratulations to Dill. Top 10. I think it was about a 4th place. Let me just double check that. 3rd place. Sorry, mate, I ripped you off one. So you've come through the ranks. I remember you co-ed with me a couple of years ago, and we had a fat time. Although the boat played up that day that I was running, but we have to be respectful both ways. I think that's the problem that we're having at the moment. A little bit of respect both ways. I let Mick weigh in the fish on the Saturday. I weighed the fish in on the Sunday. I think that's a personal choice. I know guys do love to be in front of the camera, so there's nothing wrong with both of you. Go up. It's a bit harder on the river with tides, and there's very little parking and stuff like that. So that's a tough one, but I'd love to discuss that tonight for sure. Let's go. Shorter spin stick. There you go, Brady. There's something I've learnt from the weekend. That's awesome. So really cool. It's on the same page. There you go. I'm all right for an old fella. There we go. So, listen, I've got to give the postcode prize away. So you have to be on to win the postcode prize, of course, and you have to select which shirt you want. And Harry sent it through to me. So I'm just going to look it up and get the postcode prize for... All right, Harry's chosen Scott Gullick from Red Bank 4305. I think Scotty's won one of them before. So, Scotty, you've got the choice of the Penn shirt, the Shimano shirt, or the 2013 Bass Grand Final shirt. So, put in the comments if you're on. If you haven't done that, we'll redraw it by the end of the show. So we've got X coming in. Sean said, what have we got here? I tried to ask as many questions as possible on the Friday, so I know it tie on before Saturday. That's the best way to be, mate. If they don't want to give you the information, I suppose that's a tough one. It's always been a tough one from a co-boater's perspective on what to tie on and how much gear you can have. all of that sort of scenario. So, but you've got to ask. If you don't ask, you don't know. And I always try and work together. I know that everyone's different in that scenario. Lloydie said, I wanted my code to weigh in without me as she had a massive fish. She wanted me to do it. Yeah, Bridget's awesome. And all kudos to any of the gals that get out there and give it a go. I love the photo on the ABT side of you two holding the fish up too. Congratulations to both of you for your result. I know there are good boaters and there are average boaters, and it's about communications, about building relationships. Everything's about relationships. So build those relationships on the Friday night. Get to know them. There's today's technology. I mean, get straight on there and add them on Facebook if you don't know them, or get their number and text them and whatnot. But the main thing I think with a lot of the boaters at the moment is, can't remember who was it. Byron Hill did a video on YouTube about co-boating, which was really, really cool, and ABT did share it. I have to say that both of my boaters on the weekend offered fuel money, and it was the first time in a long time. I think I've gone about 6 or 7 comps without being offered any cash money for fuel. And I think in the Richmond River, imagine if you were in Chris Hickson's boat, the fuel bill would have been massive. So, it does go both ways, that appreciation. A lot of the coeys bring on snacks and stuff like that. So, some of the times it's just the offer more than anything else. But that whole situation goes both ways in that sense. So, let's go. The Bass Grand Final shirt, Scotty. There you go. So that's one. Oh, get it out for you. This is a very, very cool shirt, and I do have to. Some of these retro shirts that Al has put in. This is a really cool one. It is a grand final shirt, and you don't get them unless you fish the grand final. So I will send that up to you, Scotty. Once again, I know you've won prizes before, but send us through your address so I can post that up. Once again, for everyone that's on, I'm sorry I'm solo tonight. I'm trying to talk. It's going to be a reasonably short show, I think, tonight, because I'll run out of voice. But, these things happen, long trip and lack of organisation from my behalf when my guests had to pull out. But I'll get one on again for next week. I hope to have somebody on. So, Nick Brown, what's Nick? Every pro I've had has been so respectful, inviting. That's why I'm happy to travel 20 hours to each event. Consistently get back boater, and felt like it was a competition against my boater. I probably wouldn't bother. So that's a very valid point, Nick. As I said, it's not always, and we're all about learning and we're all about growing the sport. So all those little scenarios along the way, we need to try and stamp them out as much as we can. I think I love having co's on the boat. I love doing this show, and I love teaching people about the sport. So it's just a given for me that I try and do the right thing all the time. Everyone is human and everyone can make a mistake, but the situation goes both ways. So let's make sure that we're respectful. But as I said, Nick, love traveling with you guys. You and Gary were good fun, and we sort of backwards and forwards through fuel stops, and it was a long drive. And I'm glad you got home safe, mate. So Ricky wants to know if there's any tips. So yeah, obviously getting ready for this weekend, Ricky. I'll give you a tip. Don't tie them all at once. Don't leave it to the last minute. The Bass Grand Final shirt. Bridget said, there you go. So if anyone that hasn't seen the fish, get onto Bridget's Facebook page. It was very respectful. Lloyd, I know you did it with Barry on the Sunday, but Barry would have taken off early to go home. He always does. So you had 2 cracker fish in that bag. It would have been good to see you both holding those fish up on the stage. I know you got a personal photo, but that was awesome. Brett wants to know what the best snacks I've received from a non-boater. Home cooked cookies. So I got some Jimmy Steinhaus is pretty good on the slice. He always packs some slice and always got bags of sweets and candies and snakes and stuff like that. But one comp I got some homemade Anzac bickies and some homemade Monte Carlos, and they were Mickey Mouse. So they were cool. You know, I'm a bit of a sweets treat, so anything sweet is always good for me. But most of my coeys, as I said, have all been a part of, you know, a bag of chocolates or a bag of snakes. I've always got a bag of snakes in there. You can't go wrong with some red frogs. So it's, yeah, all of those things. I know there was a comp a few years ago where the coey took sausage rolls and everything on the boat in the morning to feed to his boater. I mean, that's going over the top, but I will accept it at any time. So, there you go, Bretty. You had Nick on Saturday. Yeah, top fella. You know, if he can get a few of the lures out of his beard, you know, they've probably been in there a few years. Neil, yes, look, to be truthful, I've always been on about the sun care, and everyone knows that a few months ago I had a skin cancer cut out of my left cheek. Well, I had another lump come up on my right cheek and had to go in and get the scrape last week. I haven't got the results back. I'm hoping that it's an all clear. The last one wasn't. So I had to go in for the big operation. But, yes, Sun Smart, I can't say it enough. I carry a 2-litre sunscreen in my boat. I'm always offering it to my coeys as well. You know, I put it on before I go out on the water and again halfway through the day. So, yes, Sun Smart, can't say it enough. I'll let you know my results next week. Brought up old school. My mum used to sunbake with coconut oil. So, yeah, it was a learning experience to start getting me sunspots, but that's what happens. All right, another one from Johnny. As the coes and comps are the quickest way to learn, always look at the fuel money. At least you can do the cheapest chart. Yeah, well, that's it. I know. Look, and I know it's not all bad. Coes do give money. I've just maybe I'm too nice, or maybe I'm just a prick and they don't want to give me money. I generally say if they do offer me money and we haven't caught a bag, I say no, I can't accept your money. But it's the point of the offer more than anything else. I know that one boater got $100 off one coey and 60 on the next day. So, you know, that was awesome. There was 2 coeys out there that paid well above the norm, but that's really good. And you're definitely right, Johnny. It is the cheapest charter you'll ever get. There's Bo. It's great to see a relationship from the boaters and co-boaters when they're weighing the fish together. Yeah, look, I think it could be done. It would be visually a really cool thing to have your coes and your boaters up. I know logistically we don't have enough people to look after boats, especially in a tidal situation when the boats do float away. We did have one guy in the water on Monday, on Saturday morning at the start line because of tide water and whatnot. So, but I think as a visual aspect for the live stream and that, to have both up there. Look, boaters, some of the boaters are sponsored and some aren't, and some co-boaters are sponsored and some aren't. So being able to get their face up on to show their sponsors as well and show that camaraderie between the two is always awesome. So as I said, Bridget and Lloyd was a great example of that. Timmy's jerky, Matty reckons. So, yeah, there's a couple of guys that do carry the jerky on the boats. Love it a lot. That's a good one, Shane. I like that one. I always give a lottery ticket and a lure or something like that. Most boaters feel uncomfortable taking cash. And I think, you know, in the majority, that is a really cool one. You can imagine if they won a little bit of money and flip some money back to you. That'd be a really cool story. I'd love to see that. So a lottery ticket, I like that. Keep that for all those co-boaters out there. Let's go through. There you go. Lloydie's got another great one. As a co-boater, I always go my BP fuel card. So that's it. Look, I have on the occasion found money in my glove box, 2 months later from somebody that slipped it in when I've refused it. So everyone's different. So that's really cool. Elon, no, it doesn't. That's totally and utterly a old wives' tale, like bananas on the boat. Sunscreen does not repel fish. You're a young fella. Sunscreen up. You can wash your hands, and if you're paranoid about it, buy yourself some aniseed soap and wash your hands after you've put your sunscreen on. But it does not 100% repel fish. Get over that myth and get that sunscreen on, young fella. There you go. Lloydie's backed me up. No fish, no money. That's a 100% guarantee in my boat. Glenn wants to know if I'm looking forward to fishing in the weed on the weekend. It depends on what weed you're talking about, Glenn. No, all jokes aside, I am a bit disappointed that they're not going to do the drawdown at Moala this year. And holding it off, that weed is very, very thick. So 100%. That's a bit of an issue for me at Moala. Other people love it. That's like should be weed should be illegal in some countries. So we'll leave that one alone. Look at that. I've just talked for 42 minutes straight, and it's all because of your input. I'm loving the talk tonight. I do want to do a bit of a shout out here. I'm going to bring this up. This is really so everyone's saying we've lost sound. Can't hear you. That's I must have pressed the wrong button again. Yeah, we should have it now. Just give us a thumbs up if we're back on. Yep, we're back on. All good. Awesome. So there you go. I'll start again. You mightn't have known what I was talking about. I just would have been waving my hands around as normal. But this guy here, Glenn Casey, Glenn and Sue make Bassman spinnerbaits in their little shop down there at Lismore, and they're now worldwide. Seth and Carl and that have got them overseas, and they're out there and they're doing a wonderful job. But 13 Fishing is the major sponsor of the whole thing. But Glenn was the sponsor of that round. So it was a Bassman Spinnerbaits Clarance River round. So he puts his money up. He's the longest serving sponsor of ABT continuously. But to see him there fishing the comp on the weekend and everyone going up to him and, having a good chat, he's just a hell of a nice guy to go with it. So, I've got to give a big shout out to Glenn and Sue. They're doing a wonderful job there. Australian spinnerbaits. Thanks for all your support for me, but thanks for your support of ABT and Carl over the years. So hopefully you got to hear all that the second time around. You're all in there. So, hey, listen, we're going to have to spin a wheel in a minute. how many questions? We got a few good questions in there. So I'm going to, you've got to be on to win the prize, and you've got to tell us that, you want Harry to spin the wheel. So who do we want to pick out? Going back through the questions. See, look, I might get one of the early ones. Dun, dun, dun. Very hard, very hard. There was lots of good questions. Warren Jones. We're going to do this. Warren, the major difference between working them out on river systems and that. So, Warren, what you have to do now is you have to comment in the comments and let me know that you're still on air and you want Harry to spin the wheel. All right, get my pen here. Make sure that I'm all organised. We're going to give a couple of minutes for Warren to get back on. If he's not on, somebody else might win the prize. Go through a few last questions. Great people making great lures for great fish, yes. Colour 3 in the jig. Harry's Wheel of Fortune, that's the one. Best out there. Yep, still waiting. Warren, you got to tell us that you want to spin the wheel. Let me know in the comments if you think he's had long enough, because if there's no comments there, it means he's not on, and I'll have to go through to the next person. We want to give away something off the wheel, but we can't do that unless you're on and tell us that you're on. Spin the wheel, Harry. Ready to go. All right, so I will get Harry on. Let's find Harry here.
Hello.
G'day, Harry. Are you down there somewhere?
Hi.
How you going, mate?
Good.
Did you miss me over the weekend?
Yeah, I did. I think I was the only one.
Nobody's commented on our new deadly shirts. We've got the twin shirts. So, Warren's looking forward to you spinning him up a prize. What have you got for us, mate?
I had to name it out. I had to name out all the ones.
No. All you got to do is spin us the wheel.
Then I think I should give it a spin.
It's going around. It's non-stopping. Jones Doyle. So Ricky Doyle, big supporter of the show, has given me plenty of prizes to give away. So what's the prize that Warren has won tonight, mate?
It is this dial one reel.
There you go. So it's a dial spin reel. So that is your prize, Warren. If you can send me a personal message to Facebook on my page, I will send that out to you this week. We also had Scotty Gullick chose the grand final shirt. So, Harry, thank you again for spinning the wheels. I know you've had a day off today. You are back at school tomorrow, so you better go in and get into bed, and I will tuck you in a minute.
Okie.
All right, there's a few guys on that have said hello, so make sure you get back on into the comments and say hello before you go to bed.
Hello.
All right, no worries. Thanks, mate.
Bye-bye.
All right, there we go. So, Warren, you have won the prize, which was a dial spin reel. So that's I'll send that out to you, and Scotty's got the shirt. So thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. That, as we know, Harry's Wheel is about it. I do like to thank you all for getting on and watching. I know it was a bit of a issue, I suppose, with my guest having to pull out at the last minute, but it doesn't really matter. I was able to talk for nearly an hour. Clarence River Round was cool. Get onto the ABT website to see all the results. As I said, there was some gun fishermen out there. It was a really good event, really well run. Really enjoyed it. The 14-hour drive was very, very hard on the way home, but did make it home safe. I am looking forward to next weekend. The whole bluefin fishing team is going to Moala. We are going to do a little bit of a video record of the weekend. Looking forward to the Native Classic on the weekend. So if you are around the Moala way and you do want to come down, say good day to the cap and the bluefin fishing team, get a hold of me. But as I said, short show tonight, bit hard to talk for yourself. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all with a guest next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.